Is the baby even his? The question cut through the courtroom like a blade, not whispered, not implied, spoken clearly by the billionaire's own daughter. And in that moment, a $4 billion empire hung in silence. At 37, Keisha Carter had already buried one husband. She had stood in a hospital room at 30 years old, watching machines breathe for the only man she'd ever planned a future with. After that day, she stopped planning, until she met Michael Reynolds. They didn't whisper when Keisha Carter married Michael Reynolds. They didn't lower their voices. They didn't pretend. They stared. And in a city like Chicago, where money hides behind glass towers and private dining rooms, stares are louder than screams. Keisha Carter was 37 when she walked down the aisle for the second time. She'd been widowed at 30. 7 years earlier, she had stood beside a hospital bed, holding the hand of her husband, Daniel Carter, as machines breathed for him. A construction accident, a collapsed scaffold, a phone call at 2:14 p.m. that split her life into before and after. After that day, she stopped wearing bright colors, stopped laughing loudly, stopped believing life would ever surprise her again until Michael Reynolds. Michael Reynolds was 65, not frail, not slow, not confused. 65 with the posture of a man who still lifted weights at 5:30 a.m. 65 with sharp gray eyes that had negotiated million-dollar land deals across half of Illinois. 65 with a silence that made younger men straighten their shoulders. He built his real estate empire from nothing, no inheritance, no trust fund, just grit, risk, and the refusal to fail. People respected him, they also feared him, and when he married a woman 28 years younger, respect turned into suspicion. They met in the most ordinary way possible, at a zoning appeal meeting. Keisha worked as an administrative coordinator for a mid-sized property management firm downtown. She handled documents, permits, scheduling. She was invisible in rooms where men made decisions. Michael noticed invisible things. She corrected a filing error during a presentation, calmly, without embarrassment, without ego. After the meeting, he approached her. "You saved that man from looking incompetent." "I saved the project," she replied. That answer stayed with him. They had coffee, then lunch, then long conversations about loss, about aging, about loneliness. She never asked about his money. He never offered it. What shocked him wasn't her beauty. It was that she didn't seem impressed by him. And what shocked her wasn't his wealth. It was that he listened, really listened. When they announced their engagement, the backlash was immediate. His daughter, Ashley Reynolds, didn't hide her reaction. Ashley was 39, sharp, controlled, corporate attorney, married to a financial advisor named Matthew. Ashley didn't cry when she heard the news. She calculated. "Dad, how long have you known her?" "Long enough." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting." Ashley stared at Keisha across the dining table that night, not with anger, with assessment. The wedding was small, private, elegant, but the photos leaked anyway. A 65-year-old millionaire in a tailored black tux, a 37-year-old widow in ivory silk. The comments online were brutal. Midlife crisis, gold digger, she's securing the retirement package, give it 2 years. Keisha read none of them, but Ashley did, and Ashley printed them. The first fracture didn't happen at a family dinner. It happened quietly, in a bank office. Ashley scheduled a private meeting with her father's longtime financial advisor. "She's isolating him," Ashley said carefully. The advisor frowned. "I haven't seen that. He's changed. People change when they're happy." Ashley didn't smile. Happiness at 65 makes people vulnerable. That word lingered. Vulnerable. 3 months into the marriage, something shifted. Michael transferred partial signing authority for several development projects into a shared trust structure, not to Keisha directly, but structured for future family expansion. Ashley saw the paperwork, and for the first time, she panicked. Because this wasn't temporary, this wasn't companionship, this was permanence. The public humiliation came in December, a charity gala downtown, crystal chandeliers, black tuxedos, Chicago's elite pretending to care about urban literacy. Keisha wore a deep emerald gown. Michael couldn't stop looking at her. Ashley approached during cocktails, microphone in hand, smile polished. "I just want to thank everyone for supporting families that value stability and long-term planning," she said into the mic. Polite applause. "And speaking of long-term planning, I'm proud to say my father has always been careful about protecting what he built." The room shifted, subtle, electric. Ashley turned slightly toward Keisha. "Especially from sudden influences." A few uncomfortable laughs. Michael's jaw tightened. Keisha didn't react. She didn't cry, didn't storm out. She lifted her chin and held Ashley's gaze across the room, and in that silent exchange, war was declared. 2 weeks later, Michael received legal paperwork. Petition for guardianship review, filed by Ashley Reynolds. Grounds: concerns regarding cognitive decline, possible undue influence by spouse. Michael read it twice, then a third time. Then he laughed, but it wasn't amused. It was insulted. Keisha found him in his study. "What is it?" He handed her the papers. She read in silence, each word heavier than the last. "They're questioning your mind." "Yes." "And implying I'm manipulating you." "Yes." Her hands trembled for the first time since the wedding, not because she feared losing money, but because she feared humiliating him. He looked at her. "Do you regret marrying me?" The question sliced through the room. "No." "Even now?" She stepped closer. "I married you knowing people would talk. I didn't expect your daughter to take me to court." He stood, walked to the window overlooking the winter skyline of Chicago. "I will not be declared incompetent in my own lifetime." Court ordered full cognitive evaluation, financial audit, temporary review of trust structure. The press caught wind of it. Headlines exploded. "Millionaire's daughter challenges father's marriage. Is love clouding judgment at 65? Old rumors resurfaced. Anonymous online posts claimed Keisha had dated older men before, that her late husband's accident was convenient. Lies spread faster than truth. Ashley hired a private investigator. Photos surfaced of Keisha leaving a fertility clinic. That was when everything changed, because Keisha hadn't told Michael yet. She had found out 3 days earlier. She was pregnant, at 37, after years of believing she might never carry a child. She wanted to tell him privately, not in chaos, not in crisis. But crisis came first. Ashley's lawyer filed an addendum to the petition, questioning paternity preemptively, citing suspicious timing. When Keisha saw that filing, she felt something break inside her. Not weakness, resolve. That night, she sat across from Michael in the dim kitchen light. "They're going to ask for a DNA test." He didn't blink. Let them. Her eyes filled, but she did not cry. "I went to the doctor last week." He leaned forward. "And?" She inhaled. "We're having a baby." Silence. Not shock, not disbelief, just stillness. A 65-year-old man absorbing a future he had quietly assumed was over. "They'll say it's not mine," he said calmly. "I know." "Is it?" She stood, walked around the table, placed his hand on her stomach. "Yes." And for the first time since the petition was filed, Michael Reynolds looked afraid, not of losing money, not of court, but of losing time. If you believe love shouldn't have an expiration date, follow this page right now and share this story with someone who still thinks it's too late to start over. Because what happens next, no one saw coming. The news cycle turned vicious within 72 hours. Billionaire developer faces guardianship battle. Pregnancy complicates family feud. Is 65 too old to become a father? Chicago loved a scandal, especially one involving money, especially one involving a younger wife, and especially one involving a powerful daughter challenging a powerful father. Ashley didn't hide anymore. She leaned into it. She appeared on a morning legal panel framed as concerned family. "This isn't about control," she said calmly into the camera. "It's about protecting a legacy my father spent 40 years building." Legacy. The word sounded noble, responsible, reasonable. What she didn't say was this: if Michael were declared mentally compromised, temporary control of several trust mechanisms would default to her. She wouldn't own it, but she would control it. And control was enough. The first court hearing was packed, not just lawyers, reporters, observers, investors. Michael walked in wearing a charcoal suit that made him look 10 years younger. Keisha walked beside him in navy, no jewelry except her wedding band. Ashley sat across the aisle, perfect posture, unshaken expression. When the judge entered, the room went silent. Ashley's attorney opened first. "This is not an attack on Mr. Reynolds. It is a precaution. At 65, cognitive decline is not uncommon. Sudden marriage, sudden trust adjustments, sudden pregnancy. These are red flags." The word pregnancy landed heavy in the courtroom. Eyes turned toward Keisha. She didn't look down. Michael's attorney stood. "My client runs a multi-billion-dollar development empire across Illinois and 3 neighboring states. He negotiates land acquisitions weekly. He reviews contracts personally. He has not demonstrated impairment, only autonomy." The judge ordered medical review results submitted. The explosion came next. Ashley's attorney requested preliminary paternity verification. The courtroom murmured. Michael stood before his lawyer could stop him. "You will not insult my wife in open court." The judge struck the gavel. "Mr. Reynolds, sit down." Ashley didn't flinch, but her husband Matthew shifted in his seat. He hadn't expected it to escalate that quickly. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. A reporter shouted, "Mrs. Reynolds, are you certain the baby is your husband's?" Keisha stopped walking. Michael stiffened beside her. For a second, she considered ignoring it, but instead, she turned toward the cameras, her voice steady. "Yes." No long speech, no tears, just certainty. That clip went viral within hours. Some called her brave, others called her calculated. Engagement skyrocketed, and Ashley watched every share. The cognitive evaluation results arrived 1 week later. Impeccable. Memory retention above average for his age, executive function sharp, no neurological impairment. Ashley wasn't surprised. She hadn't actually believed he was declining. The incompetency angle was leverage, delay, pressure, public doubt. The real objective was elsewhere. Matthew discovered it first, buried in trust documentation. If a biological child were born within the marriage, primary legacy allocation would automatically restructure. Ashley's inheritance percentage would shrink, not disappear, but shrink significantly. It wasn't about love, it was about dilution, and for someone who had grown up as the sole heir to a billionaire empire, dilution felt like betrayal. The second hearing was worse, explosive. Ashley's team presented photos, Keisha entering a fertility clinic, dates circled in red, timeline questioned. "Isn't it true," Ashley's attorney pressed, "that conception occurred during a period when Mr. Reynolds was traveling extensively?" Insinuation hung in the air. Keisha's attorney objected. Sustained, but the damage was done. The press didn't need proof. They needed suggestion. Michael gripped the edge of the table, his voice low, controlled. "You are humiliating yourself." Ashley finally snapped. "I am protecting what's mine." The courtroom froze. There it was. Not concern, not protection, ownership. The judge leaned forward. "This court will not be used for inheritance disputes disguised as mental health petitions." Ashley's composure cracked for the first time, not emotionally, strategically. She had miscalculated timing. That night, Michael did something no one expected. He called a press conference, not to defend himself, but to speak directly. Cameras flashed inside the Reynolds Development headquarters, a glass tower overlooking the Chicago River. Michael stood at the podium alone. "My daughter believes I am being manipulated. She believes my judgment is compromised." He paused. "I have built an empire worth over $4 billion. If I were easily manipulated, I would not have survived my 20s. Subtle laughter from the room. He continued, "My marriage is not a transaction. My child is not a negotiation." Child. Public confirmation. The headlines shifted instantly. He didn't deny the DNA test. He welcomed it. "To end speculation," he said firmly, "we will comply with paternity testing immediately." Ashley hadn't expected that. She expected resistance, refusal, delay. Instead, he neutralized the narrative, and suddenly, she looked like the aggressor. Weeks later, DNA results arrived, private, sealed. Michael opened them in his study. Keisha stood beside him. He read silently, then looked up. "It's mine." Not relief, validation. He walked around the desk, pulled her into his arms, held her like something fragile and infinite at the same time. Downstairs, Ashley received the same confirmation via legal notice. Her hands didn't shake, but her jaw tightened, because the explosive strategy had failed, which meant it was time for the cold strategy. Ashley withdrew the incompetency petition. Publicly, it looked like surrender. Privately, it was repositioning. Matthew met with 2 board members from Reynolds Development. Quiet dinners, subtle conversations, planted concerns. What happens when he's 75? Are we sure the company transitions smoothly? Is a newborn heir good for stability? Doubt spread slowly, but effectively. Meanwhile, Ashley filed a separate civil inquiry, not against her father, against Keisha, alleging financial manipulation within marital trust restructuring. Smaller case, less dramatic, more technical, harder to fight emotionally. Keisha read the filing alone in the kitchen. The house felt bigger than usual, colder. "I'm tired," she whispered. Michael overheard. He stepped into the doorway. "So am I." For the first time, she saw it. Not weakness, age. Not in his mind, in his body. Stress carves deeper at 65. "They won't stop," she said quietly. "No," he agreed. "So what do we do?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to his desk, opened a folder. Inside, revised corporate succession plan, effective immediately. Majority controlling interest of Reynolds Development transferred into an irrevocable family trust. Trustees, 3 independent board members, 1 external financial oversight firm. Not Ashley, not Keisha. Neutral control. Assets allocated? Ashley, fixed percentage. Future child, fixed percentage. Philanthropic arm, expanded. Keisha stared at him. "You're taking control away from everyone." "Yes." "Even yourself?" He nodded. "If this company is the battlefield, I'm removing the weapons." Strategic reversal. Cold, precise, unemotional. Ashley received notice the following morning. Her legal leverage evaporated instantly. There was nothing left to challenge. No cognitive weakness, no paternity doubt, no financial manipulation. Everything was locked, structured, bulletproof. She drove to the penthouse without calling, demanded to see him. When she entered the living room, Keisha was there. Ashley looked at her, really looked at her for the first time without calculation. "You won," Ashley said. Keisha shook her head. "No one wins this." Ashley turned to her father. "You chose her." Michael's voice was steady. "I chose peace." Silence filled the room, and in that silence, something unexpected happened. Ashley sighed. Not manipulation, not seduction, not ambition, but fear in Keisha's eyes. Fear of losing a husband again, fear of raising a child alone, fear of time. For the first time, Ashley wasn't fighting a rival. She was confronting mortality, her father's, and one day, her own. The final hearing was anticlimactic. Case dismissed. Civil inquiry withdrawn after trust restructuring. The judge closed the file. Outside, reporters waited, but this time, no statements, no speeches. Michael took Keisha's hand. They walked past cameras without stopping. Control reclaimed through silence. Months later, in a quiet hospital room overlooking the Chicago skyline, their son was born. Michael held him with trembling hands, not because he was weak, but because he understood exactly how temporary everything was. Keisha watched him, and in that moment, none of the court battles mattered, none of the headlines, none of the accusations. Just breath. Small, perfect, alive. They said love has an expiration date. They said age decides legitimacy. They said money corrupts intention. But sometimes, love is simply two people choosing each other in a world that refuses to understand it. If this story moved you, follow for more stories that challenge assumptions, and share this with someone who thinks it's too late to start over. Because sometimes, the second chapter is the one that rewrites everything.